Okay, in this problem, we have a big multiple step problem. First of all, we have to get rid of these parentheses so we can be back to our two-step problem or whatnot, combining like terms. So this is a multiplication, we've got your parentheses. So we have to distribute this through both of these. So I'm multiplying 2 by everything in here. So 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times the negative 5 is a negative 10x. Because remember, they're terms. I'm doing it by the 1 and the 5x, negative 5x. I do not multiply the 2 by that positive 4, though, so that just drops down. So now I've made the problem look like this. All I did was switch this out. So now I no longer have parentheses. So now I can combine like terms. So if I circle these up, I will see that I have only one x. So that's my negative 10x is going to stay there. But I've got 2 plus 4 is going to be 6. So I'm going to have plus 6. Now you could have had 6 minus 10x, or you can have negative 10x plus 6. You can write it either way. This has got to be positive. This one has to be negative. And you can put them in either order. And it's going to equal negative 8. Then again, I keep that together, but I want to get rid of this first. So in order to do that, undo addition. The inverse operation is subtracting 6. So I'm 8 in the hole, and I go 6 more down, excuse me, for 14. These will become 0, so I've got negative 10x left. Now I want to get x by itself, and I do not want it to be negative, so I am going to actually divide it by 10, but that would be a negative 1x, so I'm going to divide it by a negative 10. By dividing this by a negative 10, I divide this by a negative 10, so I get a positive x. These two become positive as well, so 14 divided by 10, that would be 1 whole and 4 tenths, or I can reduce it to 1 and 2 fifths. Or if you left it as a decimal, it could be 1.4. So any of those ways would be perfectly acceptable ways to write it. These two, because that one could be reduced. Either one of those ways would be perfectly acceptable. So then the next thing that I have is to show you how you apply this to a problem in the book. So here's my use the table to find the number of miles X you need to run on Friday so that the mean number of miles run per day is 1.5. So I want the mean, which when you find mean, you would add them all up and divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So you add 2 plus 0 plus 1.5 plus 0 plus x, all divided by 5 to get your 1.5. Looks really complicated in this version, but what you do is you're going to combine all your like terms. 2 plus 0 plus 1.5 plus 0 is 3.5, and you still have to have the x. Over 5 is equal to 1.5. We combined our like terms on the top. The next thing that you're going to do is undo the division. So by multiplying this, dotting and multiplying by 5, that's like 5 over 1, and then multiply by 5 over here, your 5's would cancel out. Remember, you can do a top and a bottom when you're multiplying and cancel them out. So I'm left with just the top here, 3.5 plus x, and then multiply this out, 7.5. And now to get x by itself, we're adding it. So to get rid of a positive 3.5 is to subtract 3.5 on both sides, and I get x is equal to 4. And then of course, you could plug that back in, add them all up, divide by 5 to see if you came up with 1.5. You could always do a double check. So if you think you understand the last two examples, you can click next to try 3 on your own.